Hey, I think we are live. It's awesome to be back on those interwebs. It's a Down Beach Buzz podcast for October 17, 2024. How you doing? It's Sherri Lilienfeld's here too from eXp Realty, the realtor to the stars. Whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, Sherri Lilienfeld. You got to call her. You need her to represent you. I'm telling you. And of course, Down Beach Buzz, the podcast brought to us by Rate.com, featuring the master of mortgages, Mr. Paul Skolich. Whether it's straight up mortgages or refis or cash outs, maybe you just want to chat about finances and what it's like to live along the shore. Just call Paul at Rate.com. Sherri Lilienfeld, should I give you a rundown? I have a sheet of paper right here that's going to explain what can happen over the next few minutes with us. Is that okay?
You got your little chicken scratches on it.
Chicken scratch. All right, here we go. So what we'll try to accomplish today is there such a thing as starter homes along the shore? There used to be, at least. And how about pocket listings? If you want to talk about that, that's where you don't put it up on the MLS, the multiple listing service. You kind of keep it to yourself as a realtor and you say, this is my listing. Nobody else gets to show it. I think tonight at 5 o'clock, down there on Washington Avenue, across from Club Wah, the Wawa, City Council, Margate, the commissioners will talk about a bunch of stuff, and they're going to vote on accepting or hiring the new business administrator. That's pretty big news. Nobody knew that was happening. It took about a year to replace Ken Mosca. Maybe Ken Mosca, the former business admin, is irreplaceable. It's possible. But he's a busy guy now. He's doing all this wind stuff, so it's interesting. Mr. Galantino, he's part-time. It looks that way. I don't know. How do I know? Because I think they're looking for another part-time inspector at the city of Margate. That's a full plate of stuff, isn't it, Sherri?
It's a lot. So we're talking real estate and then we're talking city politics.
Yeah, but it's kind of all connected. Let's do some fun stuff first, if it's okay. May I?
Is this when you start playing your videos?
I think I'm going to play a video for you. Yeah, so I'll bring this down. And that's another realtor. No, she's not a client, but she's somewhere else, but we'll give her all the props. And this was a segment she did called, What Do People Regret When They Buy a Home? Or they decide to start manipulating or changing their home. What do people regret the most? I'm going to play a couple of them, and then you'll decide whether you agree or disagree. You set?
Set.
You all ready to go? And so just turn your mic down when I turn this on. Here we go.
I've done that.
Come on. What?
Let's get into some of these things that people have regretted doing to their houses. So let's start on the outside. The first one is those extensive backyard kitchens. You know what I'm talking about, right? The big fancy Viking grill, the big refrigerator, the sink, beautiful patio. It's great. The whole idea of that is great. And during the pandemic, a lot of people had this idea of making this big outdoor space and outdoor kitchens. However, what people have come to realize is that they become underutilized. So they spend tens of thousands of dollars putting in this outdoor kitchen and they don't get to enjoy it that much, especially for those who live in the northern part of the country where they can only use it during the summer months, spring and into fall. And then you have the winter where you can't use it. So look, it's a great idea. It was a great concept, great idea for entertaining, doing outdoor entertaining. But many people have found that it's kind of a waste because, again, it's underutilized.
And your thoughts there, Sherri Lilienfeld? It's even though they're gorgeous and I think they're fun, does this woman have some merit in her argument about things that people might regret when buying a home or manipulating or upgrading their home?
It's interesting. I mean, I think people use their outdoor space, but the pictures she was showing me, like they had extensive kitchens with full refrigerators. I mean, everyone wants a grill outside. Right. So I think the grill is important. But yeah, when you start really dumping a lot of money, it's funny too, because I started thinking about I have a little, it's not an outdoor kitchen. It's just an island with a grill and a little refrigerator. I really didn't use it that much this year. And she's absolutely right. When you're up in the Northeast or where it's cold, yeah, you're only using a part of the year. So I think you still want to have that outdoor space, a grill, a little mini fridge. But other than that, like not make it this elaborate kitchen with a full refrigerator and the warming tray and all that. Yeah.
Does it increase the value of your home if you eventually sell the home?
I think down in Florida, they do that. And again, they're using it year round. It
Okay.
is important to have a good cooking area, and it would increase it. But what she's saying is you're not going to get the payback from it with, if you're going to put $100,000 into it, you don't have to do that. You could put 20,000 and get a really nice area.
Okay, here we go to the next thing
Okay,
that
here we
people
go.
they might regret doing to their home when they move in or they wanted to upgrade. Do they regret this one? I can't wait to see your reaction to this one, Sherri Lilienfeld.
The next item that people have regretted putting in, I know I'm going to get so much flack for this one, but putting in swimming pools. And I'm talking about above ground and in-ground pools. Yes. And I know, come at me. People are going to tell me I'm nuts. But here's the thing. What people have found is that they didn't take into account the added expense to maintain a pool, right? It costs money. You're going to bring somebody in to open and close the pool the beginning and the end of the season. Then you have to clean the pool. Some people bring in pool guys to come in and clean the pool, and it adds up. It's expensive. The other problem is that it makes your homeowner's insurance go up. And we've been talking about homeowners insurance a lot on this channel, haven't we? So that's something that you have to take into consideration. And I'm not telling you don't put in a pool at all, but this is some things that people have had concerns about. And here's another thing. Over time, and I'm speaking from experience, growing up with a pool, you have kids. It's great when they're younger. They enjoy it. They have fun. But as they get older, yeah, not so much.
There you go, Sherri. That's exactly what you experience. You put a killer pool, you enjoy it. I think it's well worth it, especially down the shore. It increases the value of your home. It's a great investment. But the one thing you mentioned that you kind of got bummed out about was as the kids got older, they had less interest in being in your brand new pool.
Yeah, it's funny too, because so my kids are all adults now. And when they come home, they go to the beach.
Yeah.
They want to go to the beach. And they're constantly saying, Mom, why didn't you do this when we were younger? Mom, why did you do this now? And in terms of the expense, I will say I am the pool person. Like, I'm cleaning the pool because one, it's money. It wasn't a lot of money. It was like $300 a month, but I found that they didn't do a really good job. Like, I did a better job, like they weren't putting the chemicals in. They were just dumping muriatic acid. Like, I really take the time to balance it, but it's time. It's a labor of love. I don't mind it, but if it's not your thing, you're going to spend a lot of money. And yeah, it costs a few $100s to open and close your pool. And then of course, eventually things are going to break. So yeah, it's an expense. And definitely when kids are younger, my neighbors use my pool more than my own kids. I always invite them over because they have young kids and they love it.
Okay, let's go to the next thing that some people regret in regards to upgrading their home. Let me see if I got this done right.
Let's
here.
move on to the inside of the house. So what are some things that people regretted doing? The first one is buying major high-end appliances. Oh yeah. When you move into your home, for the most part, people want to change out the appliances, right? They want a new washer and dryer. They want the refrigerator, all the things. But those who have spent like tens of thousands of dollars on these high-end appliances realize that, yeah, we didn't need to spend that kind of money. Now, look, you have those new fancy refrigerators where you have like the glass door you can see through, or they have the big touch screen thing on it. It's like a tablet. You don't need that. You don't. And this is especially for you first-time homeowners. Don't overindulge on the appliances. It's not worth it. Stick with the basics from Maytag, Whirlpool, whatever. You don't need to go all high-end and fancy on your appliances. You really don't have to.
So that's an interesting one because it is pretty awesome when you do a walkthrough or you're considering maybe an open house and people get to see these awesome killer things in your bathroom, in the kitchen, all the high-end stuff. Although I think, sure, talk about this clip about people putting in, maybe regretting super high-end appliances. And how does that connect with the lack of affordable homes, meaning mid-level homes or homes that are considered starter homes? Because when you only build homes with all these super high, expensive added attractions, it makes it tough for a young family to get in. That could be an issue with keeping young families from moving into Margate. Am I right or wrong about that?
Well, it's funny, when she was talking, all I could think about were the many people that they're like, oh, I need a really nice kitchen and all these appliances. And those are the people that don't even cook. Like people that go out to restaurants all the time. They really don't even use their kitchens. The people that do cook a lot and have the families, and like you said, the more affordable homes for people who live here year round with their kids. Yeah, the one thing people do like, though, is a gas stove, right, over an electric stove. Okay, that I could see if you have gas in there. But all these fancy things, first of all, the homes you can't even get into a decent home for a family for less than $1 million. Why would you spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000?
When a developer comes in, or a house flipper comes in and buys a rancher, an old bungalow, and knocks it down and builds a McMansion, those builders, they're going to want to stuff as many high-end appliances and other attractions into that home, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they also use these high-end appliances as a way of compensating or attracting somebody to pay that high price. So I'm not against the high-end stuff, but I think this idea that everything has to be super high-end, that's why you're not seeing as many young families moving to Margate and Ventnor. There's a downside to that, Sherri.
Yeah. And of course, for me, being the environmentalist, and I'm always thinking about reusing and recycling, why would you get rid of perfectly good appliances that probably have another 5-10 years? And actually, the appliance repair people that I've talked to, they're like the stuff that they're making now, like refrigerators, they break down so much. They actually say if you have an older refrigerator or an older appliance, you should keep it because it's made to last. So I mean, definitely not for a home where people actually use their kitchens. They don't need all that fancy stuff. They just need functionality.
Yeah, I would have to agree. So that ties into our next segment here on the Down Beach Buzz podcast with Sherri Lilienfeld of eXp Realty. And it's also sponsored by Paul Skolage of Rate.com. So affordability, starter homes. It used to be where you can have a starter home in Ventnor or Margate at $400,000, $500,000. Now it's at least $1 million, right? Unless there's some big issues happening with that property. So we talked about school enrollment. We've been sniffing around a little bit. As look, you just sent me this chart here. We have the total enrollment in the Margate School District is now 327. 2 schools, 2 principals. Is it 2 superintendents? I don't know. They seem to have whatever. But what does this tell you? You moved here with your kids because it was an affordable place to live, huh, Sherri?
So when I moved here in 2002. My husband's from this area, South Jersey, and he really wanted to move here. And we decided, at the time, we actually owned a home in Sea Isle, but that's not a place to live year round. Wintertime, you'll see tumbleweeds like in the street. It's pretty desolate. But Margate always had, at the time, it was close to 50% of full-time residents who owned homes here. It's such a vibrant area of full-time residents and great schools. I moved from the Radnor School District in Pennsylvania. It was supposedly a really good school, but I got to tell you, this school district I found to be better for my kids. So yeah, it's a great place to move a family to because there's year-round activity as opposed to other shore communities. I don't remember what the actual number of enrollment was, but there were also 3 schools. There was Union Avenue School, the Ross School, and the Thai School. And then at some point a number of years ago, they combined Union and Ross, where they
Okay, before we get too deep into that, take a look at that Ross School number that you provided to me. Enrollment as of September 4, 2024. The pre-K, only 3 are enrolled. Now take a look at the rest of that list. Grade 4, 39 students. Grade 3, 35. Grade 2, 40. Grade 1 down to 31. It seems like it's ticking down. So it looks like every year that goes by, there's going to be less students in these, well, at least for the elementary school. Is that, am I reading that right?
However, last year, the enrollment the same time of year was 184. The pre-K is always light, 3 kids, but the kindergartens was 34. Now we have 39. And so the numbers are actually going up.
So, but that could be Margate is accepting paid for students from outside the district. Is that happening in Margate yet? Because they're talking about it, aren't they?
I think you can always do that. I remember standing outside the school to pick up my kids, and there were some parents from Linwood who, for whatever reason, brought their kids to the Margate schools. I think you're always able to do that. I just remember, a couple of parents from outside of the area who were.
Okay. So do you want to focus on the total enrollment? But what we should do is Margate has 2 schools, 2 buildings, 2 expenses. One of the schools, Ross, has 187 kids. The other school, Ty, has 140. Those are the numbers. You got to really take. So when you say 327, I go, oh, okay, it's still a lot of people, but it's 2 buildings. It's 2 schools with well less than 200 students in each school, and it's so expensive. Do you think Margate taxpayers like that, or do you think these schools might combine, or is there a downside to combining these schools, or will the state force take control of who goes where? Because, the state of New Jersey has always talked about, we can't have 600 school districts in the state of New Jersey,
I think what's really important is the classroom size. Like I'm assuming those, like grade 2, which is 40 kids, or 2 classes, and even grade 1, which is 31 kids. I'm assuming there's 2 classes, 15 to 20 kids in a class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good number. That's a manageable number for a teacher, right? But if you start trying to combine it, putting all these kids, I don't think there's room for these 2 schools for these kids. And then you're going to make the classrooms have more kids? And then your whole quality of education goes down. And as a parent, you always look for the teacher-student ratio.
Yeah.
That's a really important number. And that, to me, is probably what's missing from these numbers. You can't just look at it and say, well, what do you think? Are they going to combine it?
All right, let's go to another piece of data. Well, you know what? I can't make it larger here, but maybe I could. I was talking about building permits.
Demolition permits.
But before we do that, why don't we talk about the guy that was in charge of this department in the city of Margate, Jim Galantino. It looks like the city of Margate tonight, and right now we're recording this on October 17. Tonight, it's starting at 5 o'clock. Margate commissioners, a big meeting about a lot of different topics. Number 1, the big topic is, why are you not live video streaming these meetings? Why are you disrespecting people who don't live here full time? They pay most of the bills. Number 2, they're going to talk about, they're looking for another part-time building inspector because Mr. Galantino, he is now part-time. And why is that? And also tonight, Sherri, is it looks like the city of Margate, nobody really knew about it until a few days ago when it came out on the agenda. Looks like they're about to finally replace the irreplaceable Ken Mosca in the business administrator role. Ken's very busy right now. He is supporting wind turbines, so God bless him for that. And he
even though he used to be against wind turbines, I can't figure that one out. But
I could have swore I drove past one of his houses and he's an anti-wind, billboards out front, whatever. But
a lot of them.
But for some reason, of course, Ken Mosca, the former business admin for the city of Margate, he got a settlement, I guess. But after just 1 year of a 3-year deal, he got whacked. But the city of Margate and John Scott Abbott, the esteemed solicitor, John Scott Abbott, doesn't really share the information of why Mosca was booted after just 1 year. Well, it's all a part of privacy. No. Why don't you share with everybody, John? Why you can't tell people?
Because he can't. They signed a confidentiality agreement, both sides. Ken Mosca did.
But as a Margate resident, don't you want to know how the hell did you hire him and why did you fire him?
Of course.
I don't care. I know, I appreciate the non-disclosure. I get that. But as a Margate taxpayer, why wouldn't you want to know How did you make a bad pick, and why so quick did you boot him? What happened? And what's going on with Mr. Galantino? Is there any other lawsuits? Hey, what about, remember you dug up the street for the pipes and you destroyed the foundations of about 6 people, their homes on Amherst Avenue, and you dragged it out for years?
3 years.
I'm telling you, 3 years. I can't believe how Margate residents really think that the elected officials and appointed officials are somehow beyond reproach. They're very holy, and they never not tell you the truth. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest, Sherri. I'm sorry.
I know you really like to attack city officials and non-transparency.
I poke. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
The transparency. And yes, there really needs to be a lot more transparency. And of course, we all have questions that we would like answered that aren't answered. I agree with you. I mean, and there should be the live video stream where people can participate in the meetings from a distance. So anyway.
What about this? So anyway, so tonight they're going to talk about and vote in the former Galloway police chief, Pat Moran, I guess. He's slated to become Margate's latest business admin, a position that pretty much runs the town. Mr. Pat Moran looks like a respectable gentleman. I don't know much about him, but he's a former police chief in the town of Galloway Township. And after that, when he retired, he became an employee of the Absegami High School, and he was a security guard. So I just think the bigger story is, a lot of people are chatting about it online, is how come nobody knew who was being considered? Where was the job posting? What are the gentleman's qualifications? And I think, Sherri, the most important thing here is our good friends, Kathy Horn, Maurice Blumberg, and Mr. Mayor Michael Collins. They put this discussion of hiring a new business admin in the consent agenda. That pretty much says they're trying to hide it. Consent agenda items are the things that are not that important. And there's 10 of them, there's 20 of them. We'll just vote and the whole thing goes through. That is a pretty despicable thing that Mr. Collins and Mr. John Scott Abbott do. They dump stuff that's really important into the consent agenda. That is despicable. And I'm not going to edit that out. Even
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Please don't go back.
So here tonight, they're going to approve a 1-year employment agreement. I guess they don't want to get burned again. A 1-year deal with Patrick Moran as the municipal administrator. They're going to, all 3 of them are going to approve a 1-year agreement with Pat to serve as a part-time municipal administrator at a salary of $85,000 per year. I don't know. And also, I think they're looking for another part-time home inspector or construction official or something, because Mr. Galantino, the other guy, he's part-time now. Why is that? I'm telling you, people need to really either A, show up at these meetings, or more importantly, say, turn the cameras on. Every other town, every other county does it, but it's nonsense. I heard a story that the reason why they don't do live video streams, why they don't want to do live video streams of these meetings, I'm talking about the Margate leadership, Margate leadership. There must have been something that happened a while back where somebody did something inappropriate on the camera. We can't do that. That nonsense. It really came down to poor management of your technology. Margate was at fault to let some knucklehead do something disgusting. Probably happened, but what kind of foolish people are in charge of your video system? Atlantic City does live video streaming, live remote comment. So does Atlantic County. So does Ventnor. Even Lance Landgraf, that guy, is more transparent than you, Margate. So
listen,
anyway,
I don't want to beat up Margate. Okay.
All right.
You make good points, but I just want to get on the record. I am not beating up Margate. I do think that we have some questions that need to be answered, and they definitely need to do live video meetings. But I'm not going to go down that path with you. Okay.
Yeah, because it's indefensible. And when they say, well, we're going to take a look, and Brigantine's the same way. We're going to take a look what Ventnor did. They're not doing anything. Listen, the reason why they don't do it is they're making big decisions. And they don't want other people to chime in or be aware of this stuff. It's really simple. It really is the truth because every other town is doing it, but not down here. And I'm telling you, if you don't force them to do their job and be transparent, it's almost like going to a commission meeting and keeping the lights off and turning the microphones off. That's what it's like when you do not allow free streaming through YouTube or whatever, or
Agreed.
Zoom.
I agree. There should be full transparency. Agreed.
Yeah.
So,
But for some reason, nobody wants to push it.
there are people pushing it. They bring it up. They're emailing the mayor. I heard there's a petition coming out about, yes, it's going to be coming out about the getting the live stream videos. But anyway, let's
I'm noticing the people watching, the numbers go up when our blood pressure goes up. When I start getting a little out of hand, there's more listeners. It becomes more viral. So there's a benefit to that. And if you want, but I don't really hate anybody who's in leadership positions. I don't like or trust their actions. They're not being transparent, and they believe that they are being fully transparent, or they're saying it's technology. I do not trust anybody who's a mayor of these short towns because, and I'll make my final point here, that is, there's so few voters down here. Why would they care? What are you going to do? Vote me out? And what are you going to do? So even though most of the tax revenue comes from second homeowners, and then there's an awful lot of people that are not a part of the inside crew, and they don't like this nonsense. To the point where even a guy like Johnny X, he is the owner of Ducktown Tavern in Atlantic City. He's been fed up. So he's doing a podcast every Monday, Johnny X. That's Exodocalus. He's a Greek guy, and he does a great job with the Ducktown Tavern. He's ticked off at both Margate, Ventnor, and Atlantic City, of course, and Brigantine, of course, and he has pictures. He just calls them out. And in this video, if you want to go up to Down Beach Buzz, read the article and watch the video. Jersey Shore mayors getting hammered by local business owner. That's Johnny X from the Ducktown Tavern over Atlantic City school abuse. That's where, Margate and Ventnor and Brigantine, they are sending districts. We send our students to Atlantic City High School. And at this point in time, the Atlantic City High School principal had to step down because she didn't do her job protecting the kids. LaQuetta Small, the superintendent of the district, has not been told to step down, even though she is the one allegedly, according to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, abusing their child, along with the mayor. So Johnny has cojones where nobody else does. He calls out the mayors, Mr. Vince Serra, Michael Collins, and Tim Kriebel, saying, why are you not getting angry here? You're sending millions of dollars to LaQuetta Small and the Atlantic City High School district. And what are you doing? So let me tell you, this internet thing, this YouTube thing comes in handy on occasion, doesn't it? Maybe we should.
Better? Are you feeling better?
Not really. Listen, I could get into how much I love Lips and Drips, the new awesome med spa in Margate. I could actually show you some video here of Jim Brewer talking to our New Jersey Senator, Mr. Michael Testa, about the offshore wind debacle. If you want, I could also talk about her. There's some fine individuals coming into Longport and trying to steal cars, steal what's in the cars. People in Longport feel as if there's no robberies around here, no burglaries. It's safe, and they keep their key fob in there. Jeez.
Why would you keep your key fob in your car?
That's crazy. And this stuff. What the heck's going on with Stockton? I was trying to go to class and I couldn't get past these knuckleheads. What's this all about?
There was it was called Time for Turbines, and there was a big conference there, and obviously the anti-wind protesters let them know that they didn't think it was time for turbines. They think it's not time for turbines, that they need to do a little more work before they start industrializing our oceans with technology that they don't even understand yet, because what they're planning to put in our oceans are much bigger and much closer than anything that exists. And
what's with the whale killer thing, man?
Well, he thinks it's a great idea. He's heavily
Yeah.
invested in these wind companies. But
That's
you
awesome.
know, after but a lot of people don't know that I experienced Hurricane Milton a week or two ago, and those winds were, it was very scary. And I was thinking, there's no way these big, massive wind turbines could withstand this kind of wind. And they are not tested for hurricanes. They're not hurricane rated. So they're going to put them all out in the ocean and then wait for a hurricane to blow them all, onshore? It's crazy. Anyway, that's all I'll say about the wind turbines.
Okay.
I get all hyped up.
All right. So let's go to the next step, because otherwise I'm just going to beat up on all my favorite municipal leadership.
You need to change your screen.
Yeah, I'm going to do that right this second. But I get a lot of requests through Instant Messenger saying, please keep Sherri on full screen all the time. And I just have to tell them to back off a little bit. Okay, here we go. All right. So this segment on the Down Beach Buzz podcast for October 17, 2024 with Sherri Lilienfeld of EXP is
real estate. Real estate. Now we're going to talk real estate.
We're going to talk about starter homes and the lack thereof. But first, let's talk about what we see probably too much of. Some people will disagree, but I'm going to go up to Zillow, but you can go up to Sherri's site, Apex Prime. But let's go to some of the homes that are on the market, and Sherri's going to try to explain to me what the hell is going on. So let's go to Ventnor. And this is a 16-bedroom home on the Ventnor Boardwalk at 114 South Princeton. Has 19 bathrooms. For 16 bedrooms, coming in at a nice 15 million, 15.5. Sherri, tell me, how easy is it going to be to sell this thing, or how tough it's going to be? It's a beautiful home. And if I come down here, let me see if I can find it's a spectacular home. If I come down even further, I want to actually see the days on market, and the days on market, where are you hiding, is 280 days. So almost a year, 3/4 of a year, this home. Yeah. So if you were the realtor, and of course, if you are interested in this home, contact Sherri. You need a representative. Don't go, I'm allowed to say this. You need a representative that knows how to negotiate and know what the real values are. Please don't go direct. Call Sherri. It's real simple. Sherri, what is the challenge in being a realtor trying to sell this home?
So as you get higher and higher in price, you get less and less buyers that are out there in this price range. Just because this home has been sitting since it went on the market, I think January 11th, just because it's been sitting since then, it is an exceptional home for the area. It's like the highest listed property in the area, but there's not a lot of people with $15 million out there looking to buy a house. So that's the problem. You go higher in price, you get less and less buyers. The higher in price, the longer they're going to sit. That's why it's really hard to really assess the market, because you get a lot of, new construction, higher end homes. So not a lot is moving. And I will also tell you right now, just in general, it's very slow. I think a big part of it is, and especially people, who are spending a lot of money, they want to see what happens with the election. The election years, always, it gets very quiet right before an election, because people want to see what is going to happen in our country, in the stock market and with their other investments. So how do
you do a comp for something like this, since there's so few comps at this $15 million level? How would you go about that?
Well, one of the things we look at is, first of all, the number of lots it is. You're going to start with actually just the land value. I think this is 4 lots, 2 are beachfront, or, I'm not exactly sure, but you start looking at just the land value. What would someone pay? And then you start adding on, the actual house. And then you also look at how updated it is. Obviously, it needs, some people might think it needs a lot of work. I mean, it's also amazing to me how I could walk into these beautiful homes. I'm like, wow, I could live here. This is great, and then people with a lot of money, they're more like, oh, I'm gutting this place. Like, okay, so, but anyway, you start pricing it, you start with the land, and then you work your way up, the number of bedrooms, the number of amenities, how updated it is, things like that. It's hard to comp because there's nothing to comp it to. So that's how you have to start with it.
So that number it's tough to defend that number, but I can see that land value comes first, and then you can kind of piece together stuff and keep your fingers crossed. But with that thing sitting on the market for 200 plus days, that might tell us that they really need to rethink that asking price, huh?
Yes. Or
all right,
just be patient. And again, a lot of people too, they know they need to be a little patient when they're in that price range.
And what are the taxes here? Let's take a look.
I think were they
Where were
90?
I
I don't go on Zillow, so I don't know, but 90,000.
And it's interesting. So, but let's go back to 2012, a little over 10 years. It was sold for 3.9 million.
4 million.
Yeah.
So
property taxes currently, am I seeing this right? 134 grand.
Oh yeah, excuse me. Yes.
You could buy a home for that, sort of.
Not around here, but
No,
yeah.
no.
You can't even buy a condo for that anymore.
Maybe a fixer-upper. I don't know. All right, let's do one more house, okay? So let's move along here. So this thing is something I walk by and ride my bike by all the time. The old Tabus residence from way back, the Lone Ranger, I believe. He was a part of this property. That gentleman who had an incredible career with loans and stuff like that. What a gorgeous home. And if I'm not mistaken, so it's on the market right now. It's 4900 Boardwalk right there in Ventnor. And it is spectacular. It's just as awesome as you would imagine it being. And it's a 15 bedroom, 17 bath at 13.9, so close to $14 million for this home in Ventnor. But only a few short years ago, it was on the market. And let me just double check, but it was a steal. If I come down here a little bit, you'll see that it was sold on September 9, 2020 for $2.7 million. Do we know a little background on this property, Sherri?
I thought you did a story on this when it was up for auction. I remember, like, we talked about this house back then when it was up for auction. And I mean, that was during the pandemic when, things started moving, but it was still early on. It started really heating up, but it went in auction, and I had heard it was an extended family that bought it. I mean, gosh, you have 17 bedrooms, you can have your own wing, right? But yeah, that they were using it, they were happy with it. When I see something like that, I'm also thinking one of your other things that you like to talk about are short-term rentals. Like that's like a party rental house, sort of, for a
but wouldn't
party.
you be afraid to let anybody into this place,
Well, not just anyone, yes, but maybe like the entertainers that come to Atlantic City, like they always look for like big places to rent. I remember I had a house where I was contacted by, there was I think it was not Whitney Houston. It was some musician that they wanted to come with the whole entourage. And, the owner was like, they don't even want that, because unfortunately, just because someone has money doesn't mean that they're respectful.
And this house, that price could also include everything inside, right? Because look at this gym, how it's basically fitted out. So I can see they could just, if you added up all these high-end things inside the house, maybe we can defend that number, maybe. Okay, well, you think everything inside the house comes included?
Probably a lot of it. Maybe all that alcohol on the wall. Did you see that?
Look at
that
the size
bar?
of that
They
thing,
have
yeah.
a lot of alcohol in that house.
But they could have found out. They could have found out that the families were not using it enough. The carrying costs were too high. maybe they saw that. I think Ventnor raised taxes by about 5%. There's an impending, there's eventually there's going to be a reval. Maybe some people, even with deep pockets, say, all right, I've had enough. Or they got it for so cheap. They go, anything more than what we paid for would be a bonus, right?
Well, they did. They got it at such a steal. Like, okay, let's just say the taxes. I think this one, the taxes were 90,000, but let's just say like 100,000, and you got 4 families. So they're paying 25,000, but it could also be that they were told, hey, I can get you 15 million, 14 million. There's the alcohol. Look at that.
But it was so cheap for them to grab it for a couple of mil.
Cheap.
Even if they sold this for 10 mil, they're having a great time.
They're making a nice profit. Yes.
And they enjoyed 4 years of enjoying it themselves.
Yes. Yeah. And like you said, they're probably using it. Keep in mind, they bought it during the pandemic when people were not traveling. They were driving to the shore from Pennsylvania, wherever they lived, and fully utilizing homes like this. But now people are traveling so much now. I can't tell you how many people I know went to Greece and Italy last summer, and people are just getting away from their normal every weekend at the shore. So, and
this has only been on the market for about 2 or 3 weeks, I think. So make sure, if you have interest in any of these homes that we're showing, it doesn't have to be the ones that we're featuring right now, but call Sherri Lilienfeld of EXP because you need representation. Keep in mind, you don't want to go in, and you want to have your own representative, especially if you're a buyer. I'm telling you, just do that, please. I beg of you. Do not think that remember, the seller's agent, they have a fiscal responsibility to the seller, not you as the buyer. Never forget. Maybe we should have a T-shirt about that. So give us a recap of how tricky, how risky it is to go in and hope that the seller's real estate agent has you, the buyer's best interest in mind.
So as a listing agent, you have a fiduciary responsibility to that seller, and that is who they represent. If you as a buyer go to them and then you want dual agency, which means they represent you and the seller, they're very limited in what they can tell you. So if you have a buyer's agent, your buyer's agent is going to dig and find out and tell you everything. They're not limited in what they can tell you. So they represent you. They have your best interest, and they're not limited in what they can tell you like a dual agent can. So I actually love working with buyers. I tend to do more buyers representation, and I love doing the digging and the research and really coming up with a strategy for purchasing a home for the best value, and making sure that you're educated in what you're buying.
All right, Sherri Lilienfeld of EXP Realty on the DownbeachBUZZ Podcast. So we talked about the most expensive homes on the market, the multiple listing service. For Ventnor, we showed a couple of properties. Let's say we focus on the least expensive homes in Ventnor, and we'll call them starter homes. Or sometimes a developer will come in and buy it, knock it down to try to squeeze something in there that's a monstrosity. But that's the way it is. So let's take a look to see whether there are starter homes so that families can come and move to the Down Beach area. So how about this one?
That's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. Okay.
Well, wait a second. Let me open up this side. So it's it's a small house, correct? But
I love my kids, but I don't want to be sleeping in the same bedroom with them. Okay. So 1-bedroom, 1-bath.
So
for
it's
413.
And I don't know how long has it been on the market? Let me look at this real quick. It's built in 1935. It's been on the market for 40 days. So as a realtor, who would have interest in buying this would be a perfect fit for one, or maybe a small couple, maybe an older gentleman,
a builder to tear down and rebuild. Keep in mind, it was built in 1935. You don't know if it had sandy damage. Probably it's well below the flood level it needs to be. Could have had the sandy damage. Yeah, it's a builder. It's a tear down. I mean, look at next to it to the left. That probably, well, you go back to the other picture. I mean, it's cute. It's adorable.
You know what it is? It looks like one of the places where you have to come down for the weekend and to have throw your stuff, get a shower, and go out. That could be a thing, but to live here full time could be challenging.
I was thinking an Airbnb.
Look how awesome that! Look how beautiful
It
that is
It's
inside.
adorable. It's totally adorable. But I
Wait a second. If you have interest in this home, call Sherri. I beg of you. Because on the outside, the house didn't look that spectacular. But some knucklehead's going to come with a bulldozer and knock it down and put a McMansion here. Please, by God, don't do that. Call Sherri. First off, if you can't buy it with Sherri, you can sit down and have a cup of coffee and fall in love with her right away. It's really that simple.
What? Where'd that come from? I'm looking at the ceiling, though. I'm like looking at the ceiling. It almost looks like it's weird.
You would never know that from the outside.
No, it is cute. I bet you, and that's a nice stove. Speaking of appliances, look at that. I bet you it's an Airbnb.
So I'm going to say that no, don't knock this thing down because this thing is pretty awesome and it looks nondescript from the outside. I mean, it's almost like it's hidden, isn't it? I mean, would you ever think within that house how awesome it was inside those doors?
No, but I do think it's really cute. I do feel it's very cute, even on the outside. Wow.
Let me ask you this: would my good friend Jim Galantino or John Scott Abbott or some other folks say, don't worry about that setback. Let's go right up to the wall, because Margate, you know me. If the right people get a hold of this property, you see that setback. You don't need 5-6 feet. You can get away with 12 inches. You don't have to chime in on that one. You don't have to say anything about that.
I'm not chiming in.
But you know how I get very upset about lack of setback.
Yes.
And you know that I lose sleep over runoff.
Runoff's a big problem on the island.
And I know that when somebody comes in and builds something and they go, I don't care about the elevation that much. And all of a sudden runoff is going to the next door neighbor's house. That happened in Ventnor. Some guy, he just was so angry at our good friend, Mayor Lance Landgraf, to allowing this monstrosity to be built. And he was fearful of runoff. And he had a good point.
It's an issue. It's a really big issue. There's no place for the water to saturate the ground because there is no ground because it's all covered by house.
So just keep in mind, if you're looking for a home that looks like a secret getaway that nobody in the million years would think there's anything super valuable in here, just remember, look at that thing. They did a great design. It may be not a full-time place to live unless you're a small couple, one person. But if you need a place to dump your stuff in the summertime, that looks like an amazing place. And there's only one person to call. There's only one person on the entire island. Well, there's two people I trust. But Sherri Lilienfeld is way up there. Do not go just make sure you have a representation. Please, for God's sake. And don't knock it down.
That's an important point, that you need representation. Yes. And really best to have a buyer's agent if you're looking to buy and not explore the dual agency. I mean, it's just you get a bit more information if you have a buyer's agent representing you.
Yeah. So let's take a look at another affordable home, something that could be considered a starter home. I always hate saying the word affordable home because it sometimes has a negative connotation. So right now we'll just load this up. Come on, baby, load up.
This one at least is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And
hold on a second. Let me recap here. So it's 454. It looks like it's in foreclosure. It's been on the market for 15 days. So chances are it was taken off and put back on, maybe. But okay, Sherri. So we find out that this property is in foreclosure. What do you think about this and the price? It was built in 1930, so it's a knockdown. And what else happened? Maybe it was damaged during Sandy. Who knows? And they never got it fixed. Whatever.
So one thing we always look for initially for any house, one is we ask, did you have Sandy damage? And if it's a foreclosure, you can't get that information obviously from the owner, but you can check insurance claims. And the other thing to look for is obviously someone that's weird. It looks like it was bought and fixed up, like with the carpet and the floor. the other thing to look at is what are the flood insurance rates? Because like, especially like in Ventnor Heights, so many people couldn't buy houses there. They could afford the houses, but the flood insurance was so high because a lot of the homes in Ventnor Heights flooded and needed to be raised. They were low. So their insurance was like, flood insurance was like $2,500, $3,000. It's crazy.
But you know, at this price point at $454, 3-bed, 2-bath, it looks like the interior is kind of nice. The owner, the current owner, got into some problems, got into some late payments, and this could be a good starter home for a small family, right?
It could. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Yeah, and it looks like it's in nice shape.
Once again, the outside doesn't look spectacular, but what's most important is the inside.
Right.
So if I'm interested in starting a family, Sherri, and I want to move to Ventnor, should I call you?
Well, that would be nice. Yes, call me.
You are the best choice for a person like me looking to start a family and have a couple of kids.
I am a very straightforward,
just say yes.
hardworking, honest
Say yes.
realtor. All right. Yes. All
Now,
right.
it is 2,000 square feet or 2,000 square foot lot.
That's
Anyway.
not bad, actually. Oh,
Yeah, you know, and these are nice neighborhoods. There is no bad neighborhoods in Ventnor or Margate, really. I mean, some of them might have a little bit of challenge, but so let's do one more. How about this one? This is a big price cut. So 408 North Cambridge, Ventnor City, New Jersey. It's listed at $458,000. And if we come down, it's been on the market for 37 days. And if we want to take a look down here and take a look, so 3-bedroom, 1 full bath. Uh-oh, that's not good. Maybe there's a half bath. I don't know. But the actual pricing, let's see. So they just reduced it by 8%. And they did a couple of back and forth. Listing was removed August 1st. So you always got to keep in mind, take a look at the days on market, and that tells you one thing, but you really should look at the history, because sometimes there are people that take it off the market and it kind of resets the clock. And it's assessed at, well, your property taxes are in the ballpark of $5,000, but that's based on this year's assessment. So let's go back up again and take a look through the house and realize that it was, did I say it right? It was, I thought they lowered the price. Why am I missing that?
They did lower the price because it was like a $499-ish area.
Yeah. So if I'm over here, okay, it says price cut, $40,000. They cut it on October 11th. So Sherri, now that you know about this property, the challenge is it's only a 1-bathroom. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm reading it. Well, it's also, it needs some decorating, right? Which would make a big difference. Probably a decent house. It just shows, it doesn't show well because it's so dated, the colors and the heaviness.
And this shot right here, you know what bothers me about this shot?
The open toilet seat.
It's not good. Not good. You do not want to keep toilet seats open. Please, for sweet baby Jesus, close the toilet seat. Sherri and I, every time we go in and take pictures and get a house ready for a showing or whatever, first thing I do, I check all the toilet seats. Don't I?
You're a toilet seat critic for sure.
All right. But decluttering a house is very important, right?
Yeah, I mean, this house isn't cluttered. It's just so heavy with the decor and the paint.
But it's also not being shown off in its most optimal way. But I think the house is pretty awesome. The only downside is that it's a 1-bathroom. So did I understand that right?
Mm-hmm.
But you get some outdoor space and all that. We running low on time, Cher?
Mm-hmm.
I like this type of segment where we go through some homes.
I know you like to sit and look at real estate, but you got to realize I look at real estate all day long. So,
but you have to welcome me into the real estate world.
I told you to get your license. I think you are a closet realtor. You just love this stuff. You sit and watch real estate videos. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Mitch told me, he just warned me about the real estate industry down here. Mitch, my good friend Mitch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, we're done. We're done. So we'll just go back. And of course, I start talking about the wind and microplastics. You'll be yapping for the next 20 minutes.
That's true.
So any other stories here? Longport. My second favorite realtor of all time, Barbara Capozzi from Renaissance Estates. We love Barbara. She also works for EXP. And she has these awesome townhomes in South Philly, right over the bridge. So that's why she's always saying, hey, listen, downsize from your big McMansion in Bucks County. And why don't you get a nice $1 million townhome in South Philly, Packer Park, awesome place, and then hit down the shore. You'll be there in an hour. Geez, come on.
Less than an hour, though, right? It's right by the bridge, or maybe.
And don't forget, Sherri, I didn't mean to cut you off, but tonight at 5 o'clock, a big Margate commissioners meeting. And you may want to talk about their lack of Zoom meetings, their new hire for the business administrator, all that stuff. You even may want to ask what's going on with the Baglivo situation, all kinds of stuff they don't really keep you up to speed on. And don't forget, we got Duran coming to the Borgata on October 26th. And Tony Baloney has a brand new mozzarella place. Pickle Juice is doing great, as awesome as usual. I think that's about all I can. And then, of course, if you want to learn about the pros and cons of a dual agency, should you trust the seller's agent to represent your best interest? Hell no. You can read this story, Pondering Down Beach Dual Agency Real Estate Issues. So anything that I said today, Sherri, that'll get me in trouble?
No, I think you're pretty good today. You do get really fired up when you start attacking local.
No, when you say attack, that's a wrong word. I bring to light some of their limits and weaknesses.
Stir the pot. You love to stir the pot. You're a pot stirrer. Yeah,
but I'm not as bad of a pot stirrer as Johnny X from.
No, you're not. He's rough. Yeah,
he's totally rough.
He's rough. I heard he's going to be running for city council in Atlantic City.
Possibly, he's done that before, and he's highly qualified to do that. And he is a Democrat, but there's a handful of Democrats in Atlantic City that really run it right down the middle. And Democrats and Republicans in Atlantic City get along. Those are the ones that are against Mayor Marty Small and his wife and all that stuff, and the complete overspending of taxpayer funds. And of course, Margate and Brigantine and Ventnor, we send money to Atlantic City. So I try to remind you of that. And did you also like the piece where I said the biggest regrets of home buyers? Did you like that segment, Sherri?
I always like watching. I always love to hear other realtors' perspectives and their insights. Yes, I did enjoy that. So yeah, keep up the videos. That's great.
And it's like show and tell. So Sherri Lilienfeld of EXP, they can reach you. And please, I'm begging you on my knees. If you're looking for a home, Sherri is the only person, because it's very emotional. It's very emotional. Sometimes she'll talk you down off the ledge like she did for me a couple of times. I can assure you, Sherri's like a pit bull. She's a honey badger, because there are some people that will not pick up the phone. You want to buy, you want to put a proposal in, it won't get to the seller. Sherri knows how to get around all that nonsense. I guarantee you of that, because when you hire somebody to represent you, either the seller or the buyer for a real estate property, I'm telling you, you got to be with that person for 30, 60, 90 days. You better like them. You better think they're kind of cool when they got your best interest in mind, because you're going to be with them for at least 90 days. Is that correct?
Well, 6 months, actually. We try.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. But you better like that person, because
you're going to be looking for a few months, and you have a contract, and it's another couple of months. Yeah.
Can I vent one more time? Do not select somebody based on, I can get you $1 million more. I can sell it for 500 more. Holy geez, what a bunch of malarkey. That is not good. That's called what? Winning the listing? Buying the listing?
I call it buying the listing. People need to realize the realtor doesn't create the market. They just have to work within the market and understand the market. And as a seller and a realtor, you should evaluate the data and the comps together to really understand what makes the most sense for your property. And overpricing is it's not in anyone's best interest. It's not even for the realtor's best interest, because it's not going to sell if it's.
And just do a real quick recap. Inventory is starting to tick up. Pricing has at least plateaued. Is that the general consensus of Margate and Ventnor, the real estate market?
Yeah, because you look at the price reductions, 30% of the inventory, 30% are having price reductions. So that's telling you it's not on this curve going up anymore. You got to realize your comp is your comp and it's not going this way. And the Ventnor market inventories went up quite a bit from in the 30s to now 44, but the Margate inventory is kind of the same.
Do you think the people in Ventnor who had short-term rentals, and there was a lot, do you think they said, I tried it for a year or two, that's too tough, I need to sell? Potentially that could happen, right?
Potentially, but I think they did pretty well, the short-term renters.
But we really don't know though, right? We don't know data because there's no tracking of that.
I can't really track that would be a research project, right? To look up every single home that's on the market to see if it had a history of ever being a short-term rental.
Can you get on that right away for me and get that on my desk by 9 a.m. tomorrow?
No, thank you for asking though. No, but yeah, that's a research project. So no.
As you see, I can't get off that topic because I believe short-term rentals play a role in the overall amount of inventory available for transactions. So as you can see, I cannot let go of that.
Why don't you get a college student to do that?
Right.
Research?
But remember that one short-term rental property in Ventnor that I proved that they were not following the basic 3-night minimum, and they had exposed rebar, which could be considered dangerous. They did take action on that. So that's when sometimes you have to call out. But they got their act together, and we did prove that you got to hold your leaders, your elected officials, accountable, right?
You probably saved a life or two with that. If that deck would have collapsed, it's a good thing that you.
Are you going to the Margate Commissioners meeting tonight?
I'm planning on it if I could get off this podcast.
Can you do me a favor? Could you send my kind regards to John Scott Abbott, the solicitor, and Mayor Collins?
No. You could go to the meeting and do that.
And your topic during public comment, what will your topic focus on? Microplastics?
I'm
thinking microplastics.
No, I'm not. I think no. I'm
going to tell you, you have done very well with all these towns. All your efforts actually kicking in. Every town's a little slower, but you have achieved a success. Everybody's thinking about microplastics. Construction sites are. It sounds horrible, but they are contaminated with plastic that can get into your system.
So we also have 2 major organizations who have joined our fight. Surf Riders organization is now on the anti-microplastic bandwagon.
Surf Riders, yeah.
Yes, and they did a petition. They actually show up at the meetings now. Of course, they're trying to take credit, I think, for the whole thing, but that's okay. I'm just glad to see the result. And then another organization called Beyond Plastics is also joining in on the fight with construction contamination and the plastics. So it's like bigger than just Sustainable Margate now. It's these national organizations that are joining the fight. So there's definitely big awareness that's being created on a much bigger level than our little South Jersey area.
And you and Steve Giuseppe did a lot of work in the Down Beach area.
Yes, and I'm still working on other municipalities.
Who's dragging their feet? Atlantic City.
I haven't even gone to Atlantic City. They have enough problems. When I go to Atlantic City, I talk about wind turbines. I'm not talking about microplastics because no.
Does Mayor Marty Small look forward to seeing you?
He knows me, recognizes me. He when he was interviewed a few weeks ago, for the issue, I got into the elevator with him and the news people. It was really weird. I got into the elevator with him and I think it was ABC News came in, the big cameras, and I'm in the elevator. I was going to a council meeting and he's standing there like this and he's looking down at me. I'm like, "Hi, Mayor Small, do you remember me?" He goes, "How could I forget you? You were sitting in my office a few weeks ago." But meanwhile,
But he
when
was
I was-
busy working on a party that he was trying
He
to
was
plan
busy
for.
working on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
party. I was in his conference room for a meeting with him, but he had someone else handle the meeting while he was up and down and on his phone. And that's why I didn't even think he remembered me, because he wasn't present at that meeting, even though physically he was there. It was ridiculous. But I'm going to get off my little bandwagon now, because
You have turned into such the activist.
I am an activist. You
And
know,
I don't want to be an activist. No.
well, when I think something's wrong, I will speak up. You know, as you get older, you don't want to sit and regret not speaking up.
Yeah, and it's when you are afraid to respectfully call out what you think is wrong or a bad decision by your leaders, your elected officials. When you get older, you realize that it's really your responsibility to hold them accountable respectfully. But
Yes.
for some reason, people down here are generally afraid of elected officials, like they are some type of godlike organization where they know it all. They're human just like all of us. And there's nothing wrong when you're respectful and you call out something that you think is wrong. Usually they go, okay, I surrender. But I do hope that everybody shows up tonight at 5:00 for the Margate commissioners meeting, because there's you got a big position being filled tonight that you may or might be perfect, but who knows?
Yeah.
All right, Sherri Lilienfeld, can I go? I have to go eat lunch now.
Me too. Okay. Ciao.
I got carnivore. I'm a carnivore, as you know. Okay.
Well, I got to go eat my vegetables. So I'm going to go.
All right, just wave there. Just wave.
Yeah.